85% of your career success has nothing to do with your technical skills. A well-known Carnegie study looked at thousands of professionals across industries and found that only 15% of career advancement comes from technical knowledge. The rest, communication, negotiation, and leadership. I used to believe that if I delivered one more project under budget, one more certification under my belt, these would naturally lead to the next opportunity. And here's the uncomfortable truth I discovered. We were taught that competence should be the deciding factor, especially for those of us trained to solve technical problems. If we worked hard in school, got good grades, I'd go to the university of my choice. And if I work to land my first job, academic strength made us the most obvious choice for that first candidate position. But career advancement doesn't run like academics. And this is usually where things quietly start to break down. Because here's what rarely gets explained. The people making your promotion decision, they aren't evaluating your technical output. They're evaluating how someone lands in the room. 9 minutes from now, you'll either feel frustrated or you'll have the path that lands your promotion. Earlier, I mentioned that 85% of career success comes from 3 skills: leadership, communication, and negotiation. But there's one skill that brings it all together, and that skill is conversation. Where most technical leaders struggle isn't what they say, it's in the rhythm of how it's being said. Words inform, rhythm transforms. And right now, you're probably not speaking a language that decision makers don't drink. Let me explain what I mean. When I was learning to salsa dance, we went to the same bar every week. Packed dance floor, live band. And every time we walked in, the bartender already had our drinks waiting. He knew us. That's what great bartenders do. They know their people. And if you want to move up in your engineering career, you need to know your decision makers like a bartender knows his regular. What do they drink? Is it opinion? Is it emotion? Is it action? Because if you were showing up to every meeting, serving your favorite drink, detailed, logical, step by step, to someone who wants straight bourbon, then your message won't land. Same words, wrong rhythm. And that's the key. It's not what you're saying, it's the rhythm of how you're saying it. Words inform, rhythm transforms. One of my clients, brilliant engineer, 15 years of flawless execution, but stuck. He kept over-explaining, loading slides with logic. He'd walk into meetings and say things like, I've done a deep dive into the failure modes across all test scenarios and compiled everything into this 12-slide breakdown for context. To him, it made complete sense. But the VPs, they were exhausted before he finished his first sentence. His words were fine. His rhythm was off. So we stepped back and analyzed the room, and we realized something big. One leader was heart-centered. She needed to feel the human impact. One was direct and action-focused. He wanted his answer in 10 words or less. So we restructured his approach. Minimal slides, more story and clarity, and a balance of emotion and direction. To the action-oriented VP, we have 2 options. I recommend option A. It's the fastest and lowest risk. To the emotionally driven VP, I understand why the team would feel frustrated. Here's how we can support them through the transition. He got traction. He got seen. Why? Because he stopped speaking the way he wanted to speak and started the speaking the way they needed to hear it. Same information, different rhythm. Now, here's the part that may make you a little uncomfortable. You learned to speak before you were 8 years old, and you still default to that style today. Every time we're under pressure, every time the stakes get high, we revert to communication patterns we absorbed as a child. This isn't a character flaw, it's neurology. But it means that when we're stressed, we sound less credible, not more. The MIT Human Dynamic Lab found that communication patterns predict team success 40% better than skills or IQ combined. 40%. Your technical brilliance, though, is being filtered through an operating communication system that was installed in 2nd grade. And until you upgrade that system, your hardware can't run at full potential. I know this because I lived it. Years ago, I was on a call with the president of my company. I was trying to convince him that his software choice was wrong. I got deep into the weeds, technical details, logic, reason, and at one point, I even blurted out that his decision was stupid. He interrupted me mid-ramble and said, "Nancy, breathe." I snapped back, "What do you mean, breathe?" He said, "You're speaking so fast, I can't even catch up. And by the way, why don't you tell me what you really think?" He was confident enough not to take it personally, but the fact that he had to slow me down hit me hard. I hadn't influenced him. I had overwhelmed him. My words were right. My rhythm was wrong. He eventually agreed to my point, but it felt like I wore him down, not that I led him to clarity. And that moment changed everything for me. I realized that being right wasn't enough. I had to learn to land. And once I saw that rhythm, I couldn't unsee it. So here's what I want to take away with you. 3 shifts. First, identify the real decision makers. It's not just your boss. Promotions are made by the people watching from above. Who's in the room when your name comes up? Second, observe how they communicate. Do they speak with data, feelings, quick decisions? Learn their rhythm the way you'd learn a new engineering standard. And third, frame your message in a way by serving them the same idea just in their favorite rhythm. It's not about faking, it's about connecting. Studies of 42,000 professionals found that high EQ individuals earn $29,000 more per year than their low EQ partners. This isn't soft skills. This is a return on investment. The engineers who rise aren't the smartest. They're the ones most tuned in. I want to tell you about a moment I'll never forget. It was a vendor option review meeting. One of the engineers I worked with had analyzed every option. He had done the homework. He knew the right answer. He spoke up and said, "I recommend we implement this change. It's better for the long-term solution." But before he could explain, the client's technical lead cut in. "Nope, it's less costly to do it this way. Let's move on." That was it. No discussion, no invitation to clarify, just a decision, fast and final. The engineer shut down. He stopped contributing. He felt frustrated and unseen, convinced that the client was making a bad call, but powerless to change the direction. And here's the part that still haunts me. Months later, when the solution failed, that same engineer was asked, "Why didn't you speak up earlier about this?" He was furious. He had spoken up, but no one had been listening. Not because he was wrong, because his rhythm didn't match the room. The cost to the organization? Rework, solving a problem on the fly that could have been avoided entirely. And the engineer? He lost trust and respect in the organization's leadership. Worse, he was seen as not competent, even though he had provided the right solution from the start. That's what's at stake here. Not just promotions, not just titles, your ideas, your impact, your credibility. Every time you walk into a room and your message doesn't land, the world loses something only you could have given it. So here's where you started today. Believing that if you just worked harder, proved yourself one more time, someone would finally notice. And here's what you now know. Your technical skill isn't the bottleneck, and it's never been. Your communication rhythm is. And here's what becomes possible now. You can learn to decode any room, match any decision maker, and finally be heard the way you deserve to be heard. Conversation is a learnable skill, just like engineering. You mastered thermodynamics. You can master this. Imagine walking into your next high-stakes meeting, and instead of rehearsing your data, you're reading the room. You notice who leans forward when you mention impact, who checks their phone when you go too deep on details, and you adjust in real time. Not because you're performing, because you're connecting. That's not politics, that's leadership. And it's available to you starting tomorrow. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to the link below this video and take the Leadership Communication Diagnostic. This tool will help you understand where your natural communication style is landing in the room and where it's causing friction. And it will help you also understand the 4 styles in the room so that you can decode them starting today. Now, this diagnostic is only for people who are really genuinely ready to step up into influence and leadership. I know what it's like to carry 15 years of expertise into a room and walk out feeling invisible. I know the frustration of watching less qualified people get opportunities you've earned 10 times over. And I know that you just didn't spend your career becoming excellent just to be overlooked. Your voice matters, your idea matters, and it's time the room started to listen. Words inform, rhythm transforms. Take the diagnostic today so that you can engineer your next conversation.